Fala galera, eu sou Igor Miranda e o bate-papo agora é com o Blues Pills. A banda sueca, notória por fazer um som bem retrô, tá vindo ao Brasil pela primeira vez. Eles vão fazer um único show no Carioca Club em São Paulo, dia 29 de outubro. Essa apresentação faz parte da turnê que promove seu álbum mais recente, o sensacional Holy Moly. Para esse vídeo eu contei com a participação do meu querido amigo e colaborador Marcelo Vieira. Fizemos juntos duas entrevistas com integrantes da banda. A primeira, que foi conduzida por mim, é com o guitarrista ZACK Andersson. E a segunda, feita pelo Marcelo, é com a vocalista ELIN LARSSON. Além do show, conversamos bastante sobre o Holy Moly e assuntos afins. Rolou também um spoiler dos próximos planos da banda, que já tem trabalhado em músicas novas. Se liga!
You have only one concert here in Brazil, so let's talk about this upcoming concert, including a Latin America tour, of course. But how do you feel about your first tour here in South America, Latin America, Brazil?
Yeah, we're really excited because I've never been to South America at all. So it's like a totally new experience, well, for all of us in the band, but also, you know, since we started the band, we've had a lot of feedback on the internet. We seem to have a lot of Brazilian fans and a lot of people that have been asking for us to come there. So it was like, you know, when we announced that we were coming there was a lot of reaction and people excited. And then, of course, we get excited about that.
Cool. And any particular reason for you guys to schedule only one concert here in Brazil?
Well, it's really just sort of the work of the promoters. I would be happy to do a lot of shows, but I guess they have some sort of strategy. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. and are you familiar with Brazil, Brazilian culture, Brazilian music?
Not extremely, no, but I'm looking forward to learn.
We'll help you.
Well, I'm looking forward to experience it.
Cool. And about the concert itself, I took a look at some of your recent set lists, and I tried to imagine what your concert would be like here in Brazil. What can fans expect in terms of performance and especially set list for this concert and for this tour, of course?
Well, it's lately we do a lot of the songs from Holy Moly, from the latest album, and those songs work really well to play live. So we like playing those a lot, and we also play a lot from the first album. So it's nothing against the second album, Lady in Gold, but it's just that it kind of worked out that way. Those songs are sort of the hardest to play live because on the recording there's quite a lot of keyboards and backing vocals and things that fill up the sound, like on the recording.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I noticed there is only one track from Lady in Gold from the previous set list. Am I right?
We do You Gotta Try and Lady in Gold.
Yeah,
we did
two tracks. Yeah.
So it was two tracks. And then we also did Little Boy Preacher sometimes. But it depends on the show, you know, because it depends on the set length. So when we have a longer set, we can manage to fit in more songs. But when we have a shorter set, we have to cut some, and then it often ends up those songs that maybe get cut first, and also some of the others as well. But it's always hard to choose, you know, because you want now. In the early days of the band, we like had trouble to fill up a 90-minute set, for example. And nowadays it's like we have too many songs, so it's hard. You don't know which ones to cut out.
But it's a good problem, we can say.
Yeah, it's better to have too many than too little, because then you can pick all the favorites. And
yeah. And you guys resumed touring months ago after 2 years without traveling because of the pandemic. It's been a while, of course, but I read an interview that you gave when Holy Moly was released. And ELIN said you guys decided to take a year off in 2018 because you were all kinds of burned out. Did you guys feel any regret about taking a year off, some more time to record an album, and then you release an album and you can't tour anymore? How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, it was like pretty depressing at the time when we were ready to tour again, and then the pandemic hit. But at the same time, it's like you can't go back and change it. And it's, I guess things happen for a reason. Like at that time that we took a year off, I think we really needed that time off anyway. So I wouldn't have changed that. But of course, it was definitely like, it was hard when we were like ready with our new album and really excited to tour, and then all of a sudden it just all came to an end. And then like the fact that it lasted so long as well. Like I remember when we first released the album, no one knew what was really going to happen. So everyone in the industry would say like, we talked about like maybe it's better to delay the release, but at that time no one knew, and so everyone said like, yeah, but this will probably be over in like a few months, and then it was like years, as everyone knows now.
Yes. On the other hand, I can imagine that after all this, you guys really wanted to get back on stage. How was the atmosphere on stage and the feedback from the fans being so far with the first concerts after the pandemic?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Like it's been better than we could have expected, to be honest. And it's also, we had like lineup changes in the band and stuff, and it feels like now the like skepticism about the changes in the band, it's sort of past, because the responses were so good on the tour, and it's like we are just happy to be playing again, and I think that comes through in the concerts, and people feel that, and then they get a good energy from the show because we are enjoying it.
What was it like releasing an album during a pandemic without being able to tour? What has changed in the promotion strategy for you guys?
I think like, well, we were like a bit unfortunate in the timing because we released the album. We must have been like one of the early bands to release an album actually during the pandemic, because our album had sort of like the first singles had already started to be released when the pandemic really like picked up its speed. And so like honestly, there was not really a strategy. We had to kind of like roll with the punches or whatever, because no one saw that coming. But then after it did happen, we tried to do things like live streams and these kind of things, like releasing a bit more content, like videos and things, just to try to give the fans something interesting. But of course, if we had known what was going to happen, we could have had a lot more prepared. So it was really, I can't really say it was planned. It was more like we tried to make the best out of a bad situation.
Yes. And about the album itself, Holy Moly represents a new position for you in Blues Pills. You already mentioned that you guys had some lineup changes, but it's your first album as a guitar player with the band. What was it like playing guitar on the new album and the concerts?
In the beginning, I guess playing on the album was possibly like less strange, because me and ELIN have always been the songwriters. And so even when I was playing the bass in the band, I was still playing the guitar while we wrote songs and things. But then it was more like rhythm guitar, I suppose. Like I wasn't really so focused on the lead guitar. And so then when I was decided to change over to the guitar, I practiced a lot and just tried to improve my lead playing. and that was quite like a natural transition, I suppose, when it came to recording. But for sure, when it came to play live, I was a bit more nervous for that, and it took a lot of time to, you know, like build up the courage and the confidence, and a lot of hours of practicing. But now I feel good about it, and it just feels normal to me now.
Yeah.
And it, in a way, it's like a bit more natural for me, because then when I write the song, then I'm playing it on the guitar myself, and it's just a more like direct way of expressing the song, I suppose.
Yeah. And in your opinion, what changed in the dynamics of the band having you on guitar and Christopher, especially on bass?
Well, it's I don't know exactly how to describe what changed. I think it's like so much happened besides just the members changing. It's like we talked about with the whole pandemic, and things in your life changes, and the pandemic was also like very humbling in a way, that you sort of took for granted being able to tour and play shows, and you just thought that was something that would never end. So I think when we came back, it just feels like now we're having a lot more fun than we ever had before, like not, in a way, not taking things so seriously, and just also enjoying it as much as possible. And everything is just a bit more like lighthearted. And but I think that's not only because of the members changing, it's a lot of factors that leads to that.
Yeah.
But as well, Christopher is an old friend of ours. You know, we've been friends. I've been friends with Christopher for 10 years, and Andre, the drummer, they've known each other even longer, because they were playing music together as kids. I think they started to play together when they were like 15 years old in different bands growing up. So it's, you know, it's like a lifelong friend to begin with. And so it's very easy to be in a band with him.
Yeah. And let me give you a compliment that will lead us to the next question. I'm a fan since the first album, and I've always recommended the band to people who already enjoy this type of music. But with Holy Moly, I felt like I could recommend you guys to more people. I felt that you guys almost left the retro rock bubble and sounded more like you guys being yourselves. Was that intentional while writing the album? Did you guys write the songs in a different way for Holy Moly?
Well, in a way, I think it's partially just a natural process that now we've been a band a lot longer, and we've written a lot more songs and just matured as songwriters. And but it definitely wasn't intentional. But I think it's like when we started the band, when we were pretty young, we were maybe very focused on like that we were inspired by like old music. And so we like really wanted to try to make music that sounded like old music. And as time has gone on, nowadays, I don't really care if it's 60s, 70s, or if it's modern music. I just more listen to whatever I like in the moment nowadays. So I think maybe that is part of the reason why it's not so influenced by pure 60s, 70s music. But another difference in the way that we wrote the songs is that the first two albums we were working in a studio with a producer, and also this last album, Holy Moly, we wrote and recorded the songs completely by ourselves. So there was no one in the studio with us at all. We were just by ourselves, and I was like doing the recording, and yeah, that was it. Like we were during that time, some of the others were working a bit of other jobs and stuff during the time off. So, you know, they would Andre would be at work and come after he was done working, and we would record drums, and then I would stay the next day and lay on guitars and bass, and then ELIN would come and add vocals, you know. So it was like a process like that, just sort of DIY in a way. Yeah. Although, of course, nowadays we have a much nicer studio than we used to have, so it's like still nice gear and everything, but it was sort of like back to the roots in a way, because it was almost like when you start out in your practice space and you're recording demos or something, except this was not demos and it was the actual album.
Yeah. And now a hard question for you. I said I always recommend Blues Pills to people, but if you had to choose any song from Blues Pills to introduce the band to someone from all records, not only Holy Moly, which song would you choose and why? Tricky, right?
I think yeah, it's hard because it would probably like depend on who I was showing it to in a way, but like yes. I think like Little Sun is always a good sort of universal song in a way, because it can like appeal to people even if they don't like hard rock or like heavy music. Then I think a lot of people still like Little Sun. So that's probably one of the first ones I would choose, because it can sort of like attract rock fans, but also not so rock fans as well.
Yes. You mentioned before that many Brazilian fans commented that they want to go to a Blues Pills concert, and then you announced a Blues Pills concert, and everybody celebrated it. I don't know if you know that, but all Blues Pills albums were released in CD here in Brazil, which is very good, especially because not always we have new albums getting physical releases here, especially from younger bands. I don't know if you're a record collector, if you still listen to CD and vinyl, but I'd like to know, what do you think about the current state of music being so digital nowadays, not only for musicians recording everything direct on digital, but also for the fans, many times having only streaming platforms to listen to music?
Yeah, I mean, it has its ups and downs, I guess, like anything. Like I think there's definitely some positives to it, and that's that it's maybe makes the music more accessible than it would have been in the past in some ways, and there's and so it's also like when it comes to the payments as well. Like I know a lot of people, like I know it's easy to complain that you don't get paid enough from the like streaming royalties, but in some ways I can also see, I can understand it, because when someone streams the music, even if the same person goes back and streams the song 1,000 times, you're getting paid a little bit every time they listen to it, versus back in the days when someone bought the album, they just bought it once and then you never got paid again. So it's not all bad, but of course I can also like miss, for me personally, growing up, I collected a lot of vinyl, and I know that like when I was really into collecting vinyls, you know, there's an emotional like attachment from going and buying the record and like looking at the artwork and reading the cover while you're listening to it and everything, and it was like such a more of an experience. So I think that's the biggest thing that I miss about it, and that also maybe made you more like attached to the artist in a way, that you had this sort of emotional experience with it, when maybe that doesn't really happen as easily when you just sort of click on a song on the computer and hear it once and skip to the next song. And so it's definitely like a different way of like consuming things nowadays. Everyone wants things really fast, and their like attention span is like on to the next thing all the time. But at the same time, that's sort of just the world that we live in now. So I don't know how to, you just have to sort of make make the best of it, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, absolutely. We're coming to an end, so I'd like to know what are the next plans for Blues Pills after the Latin America tour?
Well, we have one more tour at the end of the year. We will like play shows opening for the band Airborne from Australia. Those are in Europe mostly, and the UK, I believe. And we are also working on new songs. We just finished a recording session. We were in the studio a couple weeks ago, so we started to record new songs. But I can't really say anything about when anything will be done, but it's the work is started, so there will be a new album eventually.
Good to know. And what can we expect from this new music from Blues Pills? Tricky again, really, right?
It's hard to answer, but it feels good for us. That's all I can say. It feels really good. So far, we just worked on 3 songs right now, but it's the sound quality and everything, it feels like a step up, I believe, because we were working in a really nice studio in Sweden. It's one of the biggest studios, and it's sounding good.
Good to know.
That's all I can say, right? That's all I can say right now. Sounds good.
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to talk to you, as Holy Moly was one of my top 10 albums of 2020.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
And I like to start this interview talking about the album. And 2 years after its release, I would like you to share some thoughts on the album, saying why, in your opinion, it is such a good album.
I think it's because, we really took our time and wrote the songs, and we did it all by ourselves. We produced it ourselves. And I don't know, it was like a good process through the whole album. And there's a lot of personal songs that have helped me. Just writing them together with Zach and Andre and so on. So I really like it, and it sounds, it has the live sound to it, which I like, and that is what we are pretty much known for, that we're a good live band, and I think we captured that very well on the Holy Moly record.
And I want to get into some songs specifically now. Holy Moly starts with Proud Woman, which is an empowering song. I want to know how much is feminism a part of your daily life?
Oh, everything. And I would guess it's for you too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, no, sure. But I mean, do you believe that music should always be some like a vehicle for ideas?
Yeah, I mean, it is. I mean, art in general is that, the expression of how you feel and how you view things. And it's like one of the most powerful weapons that could trigger us, and combine us. And that's what makes it so great. But, it's also, Proud Woman. It could be, I mean, it is a feminist song. It has an empowerment statement in it, but it's also like a party song as well. Like it's a combined. So it all depends about for the listener and how they, feel or commit to the song. And that's why I love music so much as well.
The lyrics of Kiss My Past Goodbye talk about toxic relationships and how to get rid of them. I notice in Blues Pills lyrics a tendency to deal with themes like this, which generate identification with the listener. I want to know how much of this comes from personal experiences, or if those lyrics are mostly scenarios that you imagine and write about.
I mean, some are definitely true, and some are about, it can also be a friend. It doesn't have to be, typical boyfriend, girlfriend, or girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. But I mean, just Kiss My Past Goodbye, it like sort of the lyrics was the last puzzle, like the puzzle piece in that song, because all we wanted to do was to rhyme on all these like weird words. So then it just like kind of happened like that, and then it was pretty much easy to rhyme about someone being a dick, and you just like leaving that person. So yeah.
Well, in 2018, 2019, when the band took a break due to the incessant touring, you commented that you lost some close people. And the lyrics for Wish I'd Known sounds like you're talking about this subject. Who did you write this for, if you can tell me?
It's one of my friends. His name is Niklas Högberg, and he died. We wrote that song for him. He died in his sleep, had something with his heart, and he also booked our band in Sweden and in Scandinavia. So and just before he passed, he called me like a few days before, because we were actually friends, and then he started to book us. He didn't just we become friends from him booking us. We were friends way before, and then we had some like huge plans, him and me, and all this, and he was a really amazing person. Just like one of a kind, always happy, just like, yeah, very special person. And then he called me up, and we hadn't talked for a little bit, and he said like, yeah, I'll see you very soon, ELIN. And I was like, yeah, I'll see you very soon. And then a few days later, he was just gone. So I wrote that lyric in a few days after that, like the sort of when I was mourning him, and because you don't really, the first thing when I got the news that he had died, I started to call him, because I was just like, I used to talk to him like a few days ago. So that whole lyric part is for me to honor him, and also like process of how I felt after he was gone, that in the grieving part, and that he will always be a big part of my life, and yeah, forever.
Song from Morning Dove is another song that we can relate to losses. Do you think that certain losses are capable of irreversibly changing a person?
Sorry, I didn't get the question. Do
you think that certain losses are capable of changing a person? In your case, did you change after those losses?
Oh, okay. If I change, yeah.
I mean what lessons can we learn from losses?
To never take anything for granted. That's like what I've learned from it, and appreciate it, like appreciate every moment of it. And also like even though they are gone, they're not really gone, because it's sort of like cliche, they live within you, but they really do, in your memories and in your soul. And yeah, so I think you sort of, I don't know, when you lose someone you love, you somehow, and then you somehow manage to go on, and you sort of become more mature, and I don't know, it's hard, but death is like a part of life. And even though those people that I've lost, I think of course they should have lived on way longer, because they died way too young, but somehow you learn that you can't deal with it, yeah. But it is hard.
Speaking of changes, do you feel that you changed compared to how you were before the pandemic, either personally or artistically?
Yeah, I think like if I was wild on stage before, I'm like 10 times wilder on stage now. Like I'm like really living the rock and roll out every time we play live. I also feel like I've done, you know, with the feeling the pressure, I'm just like, I just want to have a good time, and I just want to have like the most energy. Like now, before, when I was, you know, in the beginning of my career, I was like, so I had so much pressure on myself that I had to be, you know, singing perfect, pitch perfect. I had to like do, like, you know, I wasn't good enough. Like that's how I felt. And now I just like, yeah, fuck that. I'm just gonna rock. And if I don't have like as much energy as I had the night before, then I suck. But like, don't care about how I sound or how I look. I just want to, you know, rock out and be free. And that definitely increased with after the pandemic, and also probably because I'm getting older, you know, and mature. So that's one thing. And for me as a person, I think I become more, you know, again, like grounded, because I think it was good because during the pandemic I had to work as a like a not a I couldn't be a musician anymore, so I worked as a teacher at the school, and I got to know like a lot of funny and cool kids at the school and help them out in music and in art, and that sort of, you know, made me come back to, you know, the smaller society sort of thinking than, you know, being traveling all the time and being, you know, on stages and, you know, not really be just me as a person, just being like the singer in that band, you know. So that I've changed. I've become calmer and calmer inside, like in myself, but wilder on stage. Yeah.
Was there a moment when you found out that music was what you wanted to do for a living? Maybe a show you watch or a record you listen to?
Yeah, I didn't think I would be able to make a living from it. That was just like insane. Like how would I do that? But I remember when I started to sing, and when I listened to Aretha Franklin, for example, and Joe Cocker, how they made me feel, like, and how it made me feel singing in my soul. Like I sort of felt healed. But then, you know, like everything went so fast from, you know, starting Blues Pills, releasing 4 songs, and then we were on tour. Like everything just like went like very, very fast. And then all of a sudden we were on this like huge stage on festivals and all this. So I didn't really like reflect like I'm gonna do this for money. Then of course, you know, we've been sleeping on floors and, you know, doing those years as well, which I'm thankful to do. But I didn't think I would, you know, being able to, you know, have a salary every month and so on. Like I still can't really imagine I have the privilege to do that, you know. So yeah. So long answers on your questions. I'm sorry.
No, no problem. When I interviewed Dora Pesch, you know her.
Yeah.
She said that her passion for music, for making a living from music, surpasses any other passion she could have. In your case, is your life all about music, or can it change at some point?
For me?
Yeah. I mean, do you see yourself maybe getting married, having kids, or?
I am already married.
Yeah, sure,
and I have 2 stepkids, which I love very much. But I mean, I can see myself going back to school. Like I'm, you know, curious. But then music is, you know, it's my biggest love in life. Even, you know, yes, I mean, everything with music, writing music, playing music, listen to music, talking about music. So of course that's, you know, where I feel mostly confident in and I feel at home at. But of course, I'm curious of other things, you know, that I could probably like also have an interest for. Going back to school would be cool.
Do you teach music at school?
Yeah, I did teach music at school, which was pretty fun.
Well, nowadays we have in rock music more female-fronted bands in evidence than ever before, in my opinion. Sure. In addition to Blues Pills, I can think of Heavy Feather, Hot Breath, Lucifer. Could this be a sign that the chauvinism that's always reigned in rock music is out of date? Or from what you witness on the road and read on social media, do you feel that there's still a long way to go?
I mean, it's way better now, but it can still be way better. I think, you know, especially, I mean, when I've been playing festivals this summer, for example, like sometimes it's just me that is like female on that day, you know, which is like, there's not, you know, there's plenty more female musicians out there and playing rock or metal or whatever. So that kind of says it all. Like, of course there is a lot, but they don't get the stage time. And I think that's what, you know, promoters and festivals and people in the industry should push for them to get stage time or press and everything that can help them out. Because that really, what I noticed in school when I was a music teacher, like what really made other or young girls want to do it was when I was playing the drums, you know. And then they see, even though I'm not very good at playing drums, but I'm decent, and they thought it was cool, and they saw me, you know, I'm a female, they're like, oh, she can do it, I want to do that. Or when I picked up the electric guitar and they're like, oh, she can do that, I want to do that. And that's basically how the motion starts. And it's way better, but yeah, it could be even better. It should be even better.
Do you feel some kind of weight of responsibility due to those girls seeing you as a role model for them?
I don't know, because I mean, I don't feel a responsibility. I just, you know, I want to play music, and if I can, you know, inspire someone, that's awesome. But I don't feel like pressure being a role model, because I'm a terrible person. Like I would not, like, you know, I cuss, and I think that's why the kids like me in school, because they're like, I mean, you're not like the other teachers, you like cuss and stuff. I'm like, don't tell anyone. So yeah, but of course it's cool to inspire people.
If you had to choose your biggest idol in music, who would it be?
Oh my god, that's like so hard. Jack Black. I really wish I had his mimic, and it's like,
he's awesome.
I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know. Like, I have a respect for a lot of artists and bands, and I appreciate a lot, so I can't really pick one.
And do you have a favorite record?
A favorite, that's also like, I have so many favorite records, but I take Aretha Now, because that was one of my, you know, first love, and there's a lot of great songs on that record. But then again, there's so many.
This pretty much answers my next question. Which artists, bands, or musical styles would your fans be surprised to know you listen to?
I'm surprised, so like not the typical.
Yeah.
Surprise. Probably I dig Harry Styles. I think he's cool. I think he's doing good. Also Sepultura. And I saw them this summer. We played the same festival. It was so awesome. It was completely mind-blowing.
Best Brazilian band ever.
Yes, and they're so nice. Yeah, really great dudes. Who else? I like Billie Eilish, Beyonce. I think Lady Gaga is cool as well. There's like so much. Like there is so many great artists in every like different genre, which I think is cool for today. First Aid Kit, but that's probably not such a surprise that I like them. Who else? I don't know.
Such a good list.
Yeah.
Well, 4 years passed
pop.
between 4 years passed between Lady in Gold and Holy Moly, and I hope the next album doesn't just come out in 2024. So,
Yeah.
are you working on new material already?
Yes, we are. We actually just recorded 3 songs, finished them. So I'm waiting now for the mix to hear. But yeah, they're really cool. They sound like very different each other, but then, you know, it's still, I mean, it still has a red thread through it. It's like one very heavy song that's like almost like more Nirvana. It's like pretty cool. And then the other one is like, it's a lot of upbeat ones now. More punk, like we, you know, we can't really decide what genre we are. We just go on, and this is a good song. It's like, oh, it's like country. It's like, yeah, fuck, let's do it. You know. And then like, oh, this is like a heavy metal song. Let's fucking do it. So yeah, but it sounds really good.
Did the pandemic inspired any of those songs?
Yeah, all of them. Like that was the problem with the pandemic, that we got so many demos. Like we have too much to choose from. So now it's like taking forever to like, okay, which one should we start with, like the finish, and then like fuck. So yeah, we have a lot of demos that are like really good, actually. So yeah, I don't think it's gonna take that much time, because we recorded the 3 songs on 2 days basically. So I think we're gonna soon have a full album.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Well, Blues Pills arrives in Brazil for a single performance at the end of October. Considering what I imagine you've heard about the country and the audience here, what's your expectations for this show?
Oh, I mean, what I expect is what I think is that the Brazilian audience is just as wild as me after Corona. And yeah, it's gonna be so much fun. I can't even imagine how much fun it's gonna be. And we're gonna play like songs from all the albums, and extend probably, because this is our first time. And yeah, I can't wait to see your beautiful country. And I love to eat, so I've heard you guys have a good kitchen there, so I look forward for that as well. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, from what I've seen, you're playing 7 songs from Holy Moly, 7 from Blues Pills, and 1 from Bliss, and 1 from Lady in Gold. And I want to know why so much songs from those 2 albums and just 1 song from the other 2. Is it a matter of the band's predilection, or does it have to do with what it takes to play those songs from those albums live?
Yeah, sort of a bit. But the thing is, like, we changed the set list. I think we changed, I don't know, like really know how many times we changed it this summer. But it's also like Lady in Gold, it's pretty fucking hard to play live. Like it's because it's like so many overdubs. I mean, I have like a 20-piece choir in some of the songs, so it's like super hard to manage to do that. But I think I'm gonna meet the band in a in a week or so, and we're gonna look over a set list and go through what we should play. But I think we usually play like 75 minutes, but I think we're gonna play way longer now, since it's we never played South America, and there's just a few gigs. So I think we're gonna extend it.
And for my last question, I'd like to bring it back to Holy Moly album from a verse for Dust, and it reads like, "I'm breaking under the weight of my regrets." Even though you're young and the band has been around for just over a decade, do you already have any regrets that way at this point?
Yeah, I do. I mean, everyone has. But then the beautiful with having regrets is that you sort of learn from it and then you move on.
And what?
But also don't not every lyric, not every lyric is like super true. It's just like also, this rhymes with this, let's go with this, sort of.
So let's sum this up. What's the secret to keep things always new and exciting, and above all, to avoid any feeling that can come telling you to just give up on music?
Oh, being curious, I think. Because I still am, I'm curious about life and music and different stuff. And also, I don't, now when I'm over 30, I don't give a fuck anymore about, I just want to play music. If people don't come to our show, okay, fine, but I'm still going to play music. But maybe, I won't earn money from it, but I'm still going to do it. So I think it's also, the mindset of not giving a fuck, and then also being curious about music and everything in life in general.